Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a new kind of video for you all. It is the first in what I'm hoping will be a series of discussions I do following the end of a Let's Play that I finish here on the channel. Um, I know I did Fire Emblem and Sacred Stones first, I know I did that Let's Play first, but Kingdom Hearts is my favorite series, Kingdom Hearts is one of my favorite games, and I feel like I would be more enthusiastic about that, so I decided to make that one first, and then depending on how I feel after, go back and do one for Sacred Stones. For a quick outline of what the video is going to look like, I'm going to start with a review of the game. So we'll go story first. It's going to be a really quick summary of the story, really quick review, and I'm going to talk very briefly about my favorite moments from the story, and then I'm going to go on to review the rest of the game, gameplay, world design, yada yada yada. That's going to be constant regardless of what game I'm doing a video on. What is going to change is what comes after. For this video, and for any other Kingdom Hearts games that I do, I'm going to do a Keyblade tier list and a world tier list, and also kind of review on both of those at the same time. And that obviously can apply to every video I do. If I end up doing one for Sacred Stones, for example, obviously I can't do Keyblade and world ranking because those aren't in the game. But for something like Fire Emblem, I might do my favorite units and favorite chapters. I haven't fully decided yet, but for Kingdom Hearts, I will be doing Keyblade and world tier lists, and I'll be doing it for other Kingdom Hearts videos I may end up making as well. With that out of the way, let's get into the rest of the video. In terms of the story, the original Kingdom Hearts is very simple. You start by living on your island with your friends. Your world is overtaken by the Heartless. You travel to different Disney worlds looking for your friends. You fight villains along the way. You stop them. You save the day. Pretty simple. If we go into a little bit more detail, it's a little more convoluted, but not so convoluted at all. I don't even want to say convoluted, I just can't think of a better word for it right now. The villains are planning on collecting the Princesses of Heart to open the keyhole to gain access to Kingdom Hearts, which is the source of power and knowledge. So your plan is to stop them. Still simple. If we get to the end, we see that the real villain of the story is Ansem, who ends up possessing Riku, using him for his deeds. But again, his plan is to still gain access to Kingdom Hearts, gain the power from Kingdom Hearts. So the story of Kingdom Hearts 1 is very simple, and that is a benefit to it. Kingdom Hearts 1 is the first game in the series, and like any first game in a series, I think that if a story is simple, that is a benefit, because it's easier for general audiences to get involved, get invested in a story if it's easier for them to follow. It is also, Kingdom Hearts is also a bit of an experiment. It is a crossover between Disney and Final Fantasy that no one was sure if it was going to work, but it did. It was a hit, and now here we are, all these 20 plus years later, and people still love it. But at the time, that wasn't a guarantee. So a simple story that, for the most part, does stand up on its own. It does stand up on its own, but then the ending does set up potential future adventures. Not potential, does set up future adventures, but for the most part, it stands up on its own. You don't need anything else to go with it, to understand it, to follow it. And that's to its benefit. So I think, story-wise, it's excellent. Along with being simple, easy to follow, and being very effective, Kingdom Hearts 1's story has some of the most iconic moments in the entire series, And I'm going to get into those in a bit. Actually, going to do those now because they are my favorite moments in this game. I'm not going to go into too much depth about them just yet. I'm going to introduce them. I will let them play out, and I'll talk a little bit about them afterwards and why I enjoy them so much. But the first one I'm going to introduce is the scene from Hollow Bastion, where Sora gets his Keyblade back.
Be on your guard. They're close, I can feel it. Are you ready for them? No.
Dun, dun, dun.
Quit while you can.
No, not without Kairi.
The darkness will destroy you.
You're wrong, Riku. The darkness may destroy my body, but it can't touch my heart. My heart will stay with my friends. It'll never die.
Really? Well, we'll just see about that.
Ah!
Sora ain't gonna go anywhere.
You'd betray your king?
Not on your life. But I'm not gonna betray Sora either, cause he's become one of my best buddies after all we've been through together. See you later, Donald. Could you tell the king I'm really sorry?
Hold on, Goofy! We'll tie them together! Well, you know, I'm for one and one for all.
I guess you're stuck with us, Sora.
Thanks a lot, Donald. Goofy.
How will you fight without a weapon?
I know now I don't need the Keyblade. I've got a better weapon. My heart.
Your heart? What good will that weak little thing do for you?
Although my heart may be weak, it's not alone. It's grown with each new experience, and it's found a home with all the friends I've made. I've become part of their heart just as they've become a part of mine. And if they think of me now and then, if they don't forget me, then our hearts will be one. I don't need a weapon. My friends are my power.
Didn't want to say anything there because that scene. Perfect. No notes. Peak Kingdom Hearts right here. My second favorite moment, which I don't really have an order for these, but the second one I want to introduce to you guys is Sora's sacrifice.
Riku!
Sora, look!
The keyhole.
Keyhole.
It won't work. The keyhole's not finished yet.
What can we do?
Maybe we gotta go wake Kairi up.
Here we go.
If we can free her heart. But how? A keyblade that unlocks people's hearts.
I wonder.
Sora? Sora!
Hold on. Stab. Rip Sora.
Sora! What's happening to me? Falling into darkness. Sora? Are you really? No, he can't be. I won't let him go!
He's gone.
So, you have
Awakened at last, Princess.
The keyhole is now complete.
You have
served your
awakened at
purpose,
last, Princess.
but now it's over.
Do you think we can stop him all by ourselves?
Impossible.
No. You won't use me for this.
Riku!
You've got to run. The Heartless are coming.
Here they are. And the third and final moment I want to highlight is Sora and Kairi's conversation at the end of the game after you defeat Ansem, the one that leads right into the ending of the game.
Kairi! Sora! Ah! Kairi! Remember what you said before? I'm always with you too. I'll come back to you. I promise!
These
I know
moments,
you will!
for me, are not only iconic, but they do an amazing job of showing us what kind of character Sora is. He's someone with strong, deep connections to those around him, and he's stronger for it. He talks about it in Olympus Coliseum with Phil and Hercules. But this moment, the My Friends Are My Power scene, does the best job of demonstrating that to us, because it's the one where he gains the Keyblade back. He loses it to Riku, and it's the strength of his heart that wins it back, and his heart is strong because of the connections around him. It also shows us that Sora is someone that would do anything for his friends, including sacrificing himself and becoming a Heartless, not knowing that he was going to return. And self-sacrifice for those around him is a core part of Sora's character. And now, with those out of the way, let's go on to the review of the rest of the game. Kingdom Hearts 1, while being the first game in the series, was not my introduction to the series. My introduction was Kingdom Hearts 2, and Kingdom Hearts 2 is my favorite video game of all time, so I know that my views and my opinions on Kingdom Hearts 1 are going to be a bit skewed because of that. However, it is still a game that I very much enjoy to this day. The original PS2 version of the game feels dated in a few ways, but thankfully, the 1.5 remix does fix some of these issues. For example, the camera is now controlled with the right analog stick instead of the bumper buttons, and the equivalent of reaction commands are added for certain scenarios, such as opening chests, using abilities, and talking to other characters. The summons have also been added to the battle menu, which makes accessing them a lot easier. In terms of combat, it is simpler than in later games, with combos being a lot slower and a lot shorter, because it's the first game of the series. They're learning. The combat is simple, but it is still effective. Beyond physical attacks, like I mentioned earlier, Sora has access to summons as well as magic. There are 7 base spells for Sora to learn in the game: Fire, Thunder, Blizzard, Cure, Arrow, Gravity, and Stop. Fire just shoots a simple fireball in front of Sora, and it will, to a degree, home towards the target. Blizzard is more like a shotgun in this game. It shoots out in front of Sora, but it's a much shorter range than fire. Thunder just summons thunder either around Sora or near the target. Cure does what the name suggests and heals Sora. Arrow acts as more of a defensive shield, reducing damage that Sora takes, while the higher levels of the spell also will do damage over time if they hit enemies. Stop does what the name suggests and stops enemies in their tracks, allowing you to rack up damage, which the enemy will take all in one go after the spell ends. And Gravity brings enemies down to the ground, allowing you to damage flying enemies easier, while also allowing you to damage, while also dealing damage, I should say, to enemies before you even attack them. Each of these spells has 3 levels. There's the base level, the Ra level, so Cure Ra, Arrow Ra, stuff like that, and the Ga level, which again, Cure Ra Ga, Arrow Ga, Fire Ra Ga, stuff like that. There are also 6 summons in the game: Simba, Bambi, Genie, Dumbo, Tinkerbell, and Mushu. Each of these summons cost Sora MP to use, and each have their own unique abilities. The magic and the summons in this game, like the rest of it, are simple but effective. Simple and effective is the name of the game for Kingdom Hearts 1. The 2 areas I feel struggle the most in Kingdom Hearts 1 are the platforming and the gummy sections. The platforming on its own is fine. At face value is fine. It's nothing special. This isn't a platforming game. It's not super in-depth. But once you gain access to Glide near the end of the game, it just trivializes it completely. And there's no need to think it out, to plan. You can just jump and glide to wherever you need to go. The gummy sections in this game are rough, to say the least. While both in 1 and 2, it's just on-rail shooting sections, I feel like 2 just does it so much better. In 1, again, it's the first game in the series, it's an experiment, they're learning, they're trying, and the basis of it is fine. The on-rail shooting stuff the idea of it is fine. I just think it's very slow, and apart from, different enemy types and different obstacles, they all, despite these, they feel very similar. There's nothing too unique about it. I mean, the background changes. Yes, there's different enemies. Yes, there's different obstacles, but it just feels like it didn't age well. But that could be because I played 2 before 1, so that may be skewing my opinions of them. I know some people very much enjoy 1, the gummy sections in 1, and I know some people that actually prefer KH1's gummy sections over 2. But in my opinion, they're okay. The bones are good, which is why it's able to carry over well into 2, but it could be better. When it comes to world design in Kingdom Hearts 1, it does a mostly very good job of design. I don't want to go too much into it just yet. I'll get into it more when I talk about the worlds and I do the ranking, but most of them are very good. You have the highs of Traverse Town and Hollow Bastion, but then you also have the lows of Atlantica and Monstro. Most of the worlds, however, are on the upper end of that spectrum. Design-wise, I think really Atlantica and Monstro are the only badly designed worlds, at least visually. And there's a lot of interactivity in the worlds, a lot of different nooks and crannies to explore. And that is something that is missing out in some of the later games, including Kingdom Hearts 2, my favorite game. So I'll get more into the world design later, but for the most part, it is very good. There is a good amount of side content and collectibles to be found in Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. You have your standard treasure chests, which will either give you healing items, equipment, or gummy blocks, but you can also find chests containing 3 Dalmatian puppies, totaling up to 99 puppies scattered throughout the worlds. Starting at 12 puppies returned and increasing in intervals of either 9 or 12, you'll get different rewards for returning the Dalmatians home. Most of these rewards are different gummy blocks, but other rewards include synthesis materials, a mega elixir, a level for the arrow spell, a tech up ability, and a torn page. Speaking of torn pages, there are 5 torn pages that can be found throughout the worlds. One is found in Agrabah, one is received for returning 51 of the Dalmatians, one is in Atlantica, one is in Halloween Town, and the final one is found in Monstro. Each of these pages gives you access to a new area and minigame in 100 Acre Wood, and turn into an item once you finish that minigame. Also scattered around the worlds are different colored Trinity marks, which can only be activated if both Donald and Goofy are in your party. While Donald and Goofy are your main party members for the game, some of the Disney worlds will allow you to have a Disney character in your party in exchange for taking out either Donald or Goofy. You gain the ability to activate blue Trinity marks right before you leave Traverse Town at the beginning of the game, and are able to activate the other colors at different points in the story. Trinity marks give a number of different rewards, such as money, items, equipment, gummy blocks, Dalmatian puppies, and access to new areas and different sections of the world. Exclusives to Traverse Town are the 10 postcards. Collecting all 10 postcards requires you to explore the different quirks and entrances in Traverse Town, and each one gets you a different reward ranging from healing items to synthesis materials to stat boosting items. The last collectible I'm going to talk about are the answer reports. The answer reports are mentioned early on during your first visit to Traverse Town and are collected at different points throughout the game. The answer reports deal with background lore about the Heartless, and Report 13 introduces the concept of a nobody. As a side note, this becomes important later in the series, and reports 11 to 13 were not in the vanilla version of the game and were added in Final Mix, but I'll get into that a little later. Ansem reports are mostly found by defeating certain bosses. Report 1 is gained by defeating Genie Jafar, Report 3 is gained by defeating the second Ursula fight, Report 5 is gained from defeating Maleficent for the first time in Hollow Bastion, Report 7 is gained from defeating Oogie Boogie, and Report 9 is gained from defeating Captain Hook. Report 8 is gained by defeating Hades in the Hades Cup. Reports 2, 4, 6, and 10 are all gained by talking to Aerith in the Hollow Bastion library after sealing the Hollow Bastion keyhole. Reports 11 to 13, as I stated earlier, were added in Final Mix, and each one is gained by defeating a certain secret boss, which I'll get to next. The next part of the game I will be discussing are the tournaments and the secret bosses. Olympus Coliseum is home to 4 tournaments: the Phil Cup, the Pegasus Cup, the Hercules Cup, and the Hades Cup. The first 3 tournaments are all made up of 9 rounds, and the Hades tournament is made up of 49 rounds, with a boss every 10th seed. These tournaments become available periodically throughout the game and are a great source for experience and upgrades for your party. For example, you are able to gain Herc's Shield for Goofy, the Metal Chocobo, Olympia, and Lionheart Keyblades for Sora, and access to the Yellow Trinities, all from clearing tournaments, just to name a few. Once you clear a tournament for the first time, you gain access to the solo run version. After clearing the solo run, you gain access to the time trial version of each tournament. Each version of each tournament gives you rewards for clearing them as well. Next up is the Ice Titan, who is fought as part of the Gold match in Olympus Coliseum. In keeping in Olympus Coliseum, we have the Platinum match, which allows you to fight Sephiroth, who is the hardest fight in the vanilla version of the game and is arguably the hardest fight in the game in Final Mix. However, moving away from Olympus, next up we have Phantom, who is fought at the Clock Tower in Neverland. Phantom is a unique boss fight where you have to use Stop on the Clock Tower to stop the Doom count from reaching 0. If it reaches 0, that party member is gone for the rest of the fight. I could go more into how to fight Phantom, but in simple terms, stop the clock, use whatever magic coordinates to the color of his orb, and get attacks in when you're able. Moving on to Agrabah, we have Kurt Ziza. Kurt Ziza is unique in that he will force you to rely on either physical attacks or magic, depending on what part of the fight you are in. And the final secret boss of the game is Unknown, who is fought in the chapel in Hollow Bastion. Unknown is a mysterious man dressed in a black robe. He's in competition with Sephiroth for the hardest fight in the game. Some consider him harder, some consider Sephiroth harder. Defeating him grants you some experience and other rewards, and also a cutscene that hints at the future of the series. The final aspect I want to talk about are the changes made to the Final Mix version of the game. The reason I want to do this is because unless you're playing the original PlayStation 2 version of the game, you are going to be playing Final Mix. The Final Mix version made a number of changes to the original game. A lot of them are minor. So for example, AP cost of certain abilities, or Jiminy's Journal having the new symbol for if for unread entries. However, there are big changes that I want to focus on. The most obvious one being the color changes made to certain Heartless. Almost every Heartless in the game got a color palette swap, and I could go over more in detail, but that's a topic for its own video. There were also changes made to the difficulty settings, with there now being 3 different difficulties: Final Mix Beginner, Final Mix, and Final Mix Proud mode. In beginner mode, Sora starts with a ribbon and EXP necklace equipped, and you start with 8 power-ups, 8 defense ups, and 4 AP ups. Beginner and Proud also change how much damage you deal and take, with you dealing more and taking less damage in beginner, and dealing less and taking more damage in Proud. New cutscenes were added to the game to flesh out the story and characters a little bit more, as well as a second secret ending called Another Side, Another Story Deep Dive. This second extended version of the secret ending is only available in Final Mix mode if you complete Jiminy's Journal, and in Proud mode if you seal all the keyholes and beat the Hades Cup. There are also new Heartless added to the game, these Heartless being the Chimera, the Gigas Shadow, the Grand Ghost, Stealth Soldier, Pot Scorpion, Pink Agaricus, Jet Balloon, Missile Diver, Sniper Wild, Black Ballad, Neo Shadow, Destroyed Behemoth, and the Arc Behemoth. A new secret boss called Unknown was added to the game, available after you reach the final rest. There are also 2 new Keyblades added, Diamond Dust for beating the Ice Titan, and One-Winged Angel for defeating Sephiroth. There were also 2 new weapons added for both Donald and Goofy. Donald got the Meteor Strike and Fantasia staves, while Mighty Shield and 7 Elements were added for Goofy. There are changes made to pre-existing weapon stats, but I'll talk about that a bit more when I rank the Keyblades later on. But in short term, some got better, some got a lot worse. New accessories, synthesis items, and materials were added, along with changes to the materials required to synthesize certain items. This is a change that I need to talk about a little bit more, because it's a change that I think is a negative one in the end. The changes to synthesis material requirements is tied to the materials and special Heartless added to the Final Mix version, with some synthesis items now requiring these new materials, leading to the late and post games becoming a lot more grindy and less enjoyable due to all the gimmicks tied to the new Heartless. Now, there is nothing forcing you to engage with these new Heartless and material changes on a regular playthrough, but if you're looking to finish all the content in the game, it's become more of a chore than it was in the vanilla version. Overall, while I do think the changes made to Final Mix were a net positive, this is the one big negative I think was changed in the game. I do also wish that there was a way to change the color palettes of the Heartless, because after playing Final Mix for a few years, I do miss the original colors of the Heartless. Okay, so next up we have the world ranking. I want to do this as quickly as I can. I know tier lists are pretty low effort, but I'm going to go through, quickly rank the worlds, talk about them a bit. I'm not going to be talking about Disney Castle here. Like, this is a tier list I found. I'm not going to talk about Disney Castle. It doesn't exist in Kingdom Hearts 1. We see it in like the little bit beginning in the cutscenes, and we see it like floating in the world map, but we can't go to it. So I'm not gonna talk about it because it doesn't exist. But first up, we have Destiny Islands, and Destiny Islands. I'm going to go put it in A tier. Destiny Islands is the first world we see in the game. It's like the tutorial area, apart from Dive to the Heart. And it's what we see of it is fantastic. I love the music, I love the environment, I love the design, the vibes, everything about it is great. It is a world I would love to live in. However, the downside to it is all we really get to see of it is Sora's house in like that one cutscene, and the two kind of main areas of the island and the secret spot, and that's really it. Sadly, there is not a lot to it, so I can't put it up any higher than A tier, unfortunately. But I do love it. If we got more of it, I'm sure it would be S tier. But yeah, for now it's A tier. And next up we have Traverse Town. Traverse Town is an easy S. Traverse Town is the second world of the game that we go to, is the hub world of the game, and it is peak world design. It feels like home. It feels nice and cozy, especially with the music. The music is just on point. There have been a lot of people to say why Traverse Town is amazing and why it's so good. It has all the like secret ways into like it's very interconnected, and there's more than just walking through the main doors to get to each area. All the secret passages and stuff, the hotel, the cave, Merlin's house. It's so good. Everything is so well designed. It's just it feels like home. It feels like a place you would love to live in. And I don't know how to explain it better than that. So Traverse Town is an S tier. And then next we have Wonderland, and Wonderland is I'm going to say B tier. And I say that because when I was younger, used to hate Wonderland. It's grown on me a bit. It's still not my favorite, but I know that's just me. I know objectively it is a well-designed world. I know a lot of people don't like Wonderland. I think in Kingdom Hearts 1, it's good. I know objectively it's good. I know me putting it at B, it should probably go A tier, be a bit higher than I have it. It's my own personal feelings getting in the way here. There aren't too many areas to it. There's like the entrance area, which is, I don't know, can barely call it an area. You have the Bazaar Room, you have the Queen's Gardens, you have the forest, and you have the Tea Party area, which again isn't that big. But it feels bigger, and that is because of all the different entrances into the Bazaar Room. I can't remember exactly, but there are about 1, 2, 3, I don't know, I think about 4 or 5 entrances into the Bazaar Room and all its little secrets and whatnot. It is so well designed. I just know as a kid, being dumb, I hated it. So I'm putting it in B. It probably could go in A though. Olympus Coliseum is also going into B. The design of it and the music and everything is good. The problem it has is similar to Destiny Islands, where we don't really get a lot of it. Sorry, I should say. We don't get a lot of it. We get the entrance, we get the inside of the Coliseum, like the foyer, which again isn't really much. It's the save point and where you can start the tournaments, and then you get the actual arena. It's not very big at all. Like there's 3 rooms and none of them are really that big. Like the entrance is really the biggest room. I guess technically the arena might be bigger, but either way, it's not that big. But what we have is good. But unfortunately, because of its size, because we only get to see the 3 rooms, I gotta put it in B tier. And next up, we have C tier, Deep Jungle in C tier. It is visually, it's very good. Does a very good job of capturing the aesthetic of Tarzan. I think my problem with it is how it is when you play through it. There's a lot of backtracking throughout the world, I should say. I gotta visit the same areas over and over again. The Vine minigame is a joke. And you can just easily bypass it. You can bypass it early on because if you gotta go to the treehouse, you can just go to the far end of the lagoon and climb up there, and then climb up straight to the treehouse. And then once you get Glide, you don't have to you don't even have to do that. You can just glide past it. Like the only time you actually have to do it is if you're trying to get all the mini games for Jiminy's Journal. If you're trying to complete Jiminy's Journal. Otherwise, you can just completely ignore it. The Jungle Slider mini game is good though. I very much enjoy that, and the different levels for it. It's another world. Some of these, like when I first played Kingdom Hearts 1, a lot of the worlds weren't my favorite. I'd say a lot of these worlds would go lower into C tier. Wonderland would probably be D tier for me if I did it if I reviewed this when I first played Kingdom Hearts 1, just because Kingdom Hearts 1 wasn't my first Kingdom Hearts game. Kingdom Hearts 2 was. But these worlds have grown on me, some more than others. Deep Jungle, I actually like less than I originally did. It probably would have been up in B tier originally. It bores me, I'm gonna be honest, which is a shame because I really love Tarzan. Tarzan is one of my favorite Disney movies, and unfortunately, the world isn't great, so it's going in C tier. Okay, and next up, we have Agrabah. Agrabah going into B tier. I don't like the Cave of Wonders in this. It really is like a good okay, so the main city is fine. It's annoying that like everything is the same color, that it's kind of bland and boring. The Cave of Wonders, I think on paper is well designed, but then I hate the fact that you can just get knocked off randomly, especially when you first go there and you don't have like much to save you, like high jump or glide or anything. Get knocked off and you fall down and gotta find your way back up. That's really annoying. The part we gotta figure out how to get past the treasure room is fine. It never like, yeah, it's a secret you gotta find, and I think just exploring the Cave of Wonders on your own time and not for the story is much better. Like exploring the lower part of the cave is better when you're just doing it on your own time, doing it for completion and stuff like that, not so much for the story. I think it's better done there. But I think overall it's not bad, so I'm putting it in B tier. Monstro is next, and it's a bit difficult for me to rank. See, I have it here as C, written down here as C. I don't know if I should put it there or D. I'll talk about it and I'll rank it after, see how I feel. Anyway, if I had made this years ago, Monstro would have been like one of the fastest D tiers, if not the fastest D tiers. It is not that anymore, and the fact that I'm debating it is due to the fact that I learned how to navigate it properly for story. The design while it does kind of fit, you know, being the innards of Monstro, it is all the same, like, visually. Like, that everything has that same design for the most part, and it's really annoying, really repetitive, excuse me, and really boring. It can make things confusing if you don't know what you're doing. You don't know the secret of just follow, just follow the green, and that's where you need to go for the story. Apart from that, though, it's just not good. So I think it's gonna go C tier, but it'll be like the bottom of C tier. The story moments are really good, and I guess that can kind of save it from D tier as well. But otherwise, yeah, it's not very good. So bottom C tier. And then next up we have Atlantica, which is the fastest D tier. I hate Atlantica. I think the world design for Atlantica is worse than, like, people complain about Monstro being bad. I think Atlantica is worse, to the point where they had to put the big yellow arrows to tell you where to go. Everything else, for the most part, is just this like dark, lifeless seafloor stuff. And I hate the underwater gameplay. I hate it so much. Yes, I know that if you play the game and you do all the worlds and stuff leading up to Atlantica, you don't skip everything, you're gonna have all the magic, you get Spellbinder, which makes it so you're more magic focused, and that's how this world is supposed to be played. You're supposed to do more magic focus. However, the MP system in this makes it so that you have to either use ethers, which are finite, and you have a finite amount of money, unless you're just grinding money at this point, or you're supposed to hit things to gain back MP. You don't gain it back naturally over time like you do in later games. So even though that this is supposed to be magic focused, I don't think the MP system, the magic system in this game, works for that. So the underwater combat sucks. It is awful. I hate it. I hate everything about this world. Yeah, no, that's like, it sucks, and I hate it. D tier. Next up, though, we have Halloween Town. Halloween Town is the best Disney World in the game. The atmosphere, the vibes, everything, the new outfits, the new looks for Sword Donald and Goofy match perfectly to what Halloween Town, like this, like, it's great. It is perfect. My only complaint is that the story, like, I don't know if it actually is shorter than other worlds, but it feels short. I think it is actually shorter than other worlds. Like, it's not much. There's not much to it. You try to make the heart, like, it's basically, they try to make the Heartless dance for the Halloween thing. They go berserk. You figure out it's Oogie Boogie. You go fight Oogie Boogie, and then you beat him as a giant tree house monster. That's it. There's not much to it. It's short, but in terms of a design standpoint, I think it is the best. So it gets an A tier from me. Next up, we have Neverland. And Neverland, disappointment. 99% of, I don't know if that's the actual percentage, but that's the number I'm going with. Vast majority of Neverland is just Hook's ship. Now, I am a sucker for pirates. I love pirates. Pirates of the Caribbean is my favorite. First one is my favorite Disney movie. I even have a Pirates of the Caribbean tattoo. I love pirates. However, when your world is called Neverland, and it is based off of Peter Pan, and most of it is just Hook's ship, with the other one room that's not in Hook's ship being Big Ben, which, great location, but we don't actually get to see any of actual Neverland, it is a huge, huge disappointment. Huge disappointment. And when it makes its return in Birth by Sleep, it is a vast improvement. We actually see so much more of Neverland. And I know this is early 2000s, like what, 2003 or whatever, 2002, 2003. There's limitations on what they could do. But it is so disappointing, and I initially had this as C tier. I think I'm actually putting it D tier now that I'm talking about it. It is such a disappointment. It could have been so much better. Next, so we have 3 worlds left, because like I said, I'm not doing Disney Castle. So I'm going to do 100 Acre Wood next. And I'm kind of split on this one. And so I think I'm going to put it bottom of B tier. I think if I'm talking like preferences, I think it's going to go like this. And Winnie the Pooh, I'm kind of split as to where to put it. I'd say it's about even with Wonderland. And that's because I love everything apart from the mini games. I loved Winnie the Pooh growing up, and I love Eeyore. Eeyore is one of my favorites. Like I just love him. And I love the Winnie the Pooh characters. They hold a special place in my heart. I don't like the mini games in this one. I do not like the Kingdom Hearts 1 mini games. Like a lot of them. They're not horrible, but they're just kind of so-so. And the whole point of it being a minigame world, the fact that I am not a big fan of the minigames, especially the swing minigame and the pot 1 from 2, I hate with a burning passion. The rest are okay, they're fine. For the swing, but the swing in this one I hate, so I can't put it any higher than B tier. Next we have Hollow Bastion, also an S tier, easy S tier. The design of it is so amazing. There's so much of it to explore. The story beats here, because the way the story works in Kingdom Hearts 1, you get, a lot of story at the beginning. You get like story throughout the different worlds, but not a lot of it connects to the overall story. They're all mostly, for the like Agrabah and Wonderland, like because Alice and Jasmine get kidnapped, ties in more to the overall story. Deep Jungle a bit, Pinocchio a little bit, alright, Monstro a little bit, but like they have some tie-in to the main plot, some more than others. Hollow Bastion's story, so good, the story beats here. Like, as you saw with my favorite moments, 2 of them happen here. And it's just so amazing. I used to not like Hollow Bastion as I was growing up, as I was younger. My eyes have been open. This is peak Kingdom Hearts design, and yeah, I that's all I have to say. It speaks for itself. So it's an easy S tier. And finally, we have the End of the World, which is the last world in Kingdom Hearts. We have the remains of the worlds that have been taken over by Heartless, and it fits that perfectly. And I don't know if I want to go bottom of S. It would be the worst of S, I think, or the best of A. I think my heart's telling me top of A. It is excellent. It does fit that spooky kind of graveyard of the worlds kind of vibe. It does everything exceedingly well. I can't, I don't know why, just something's telling me to not put it in S tier. So it's going top of A. You even get to fight Chernabog, like basically the devil. I think what's keeping me from putting it in S tier is the fact that there is no story until you reach Ansem. Like, it's just fight through the world to get to Ansem. And then all the story happens with fighting Ansem once you reach the final door. Like, cutscenes are just when you first show up, there's a little bit of like text only scene when you reach the final door, and then all the story happens with Ansem. And I think also it's just like everything's just a void, which like it's kind of like it's just dark, which I get. That's kind of the point. I feel like they could have done, like, there's a whole part between entering the volcano and then getting to the kind of like the green room, where it's just like there's literally nothing there except scenery, which, like, not even enemies, just nothing. Like, even just a few enemies would have changed it. Otherwise, like, the way it is now, it's just you go through it and that's it. So yeah, I think those are keeping me from putting a test here. But yeah, so here we are. Top of the list in S tier, we have Traverse Town and Hollow Bastion. In A tier, we have End of the World, Destiny Islands, and Halloween Town. In B tier, we have Olympus Coliseum, Agrabah, Wonderland, and 100 Acre Wood. In C tier, we have Deep Jungle and Monstro. And in D tier, we have Neverland and Atlantica. And now we have the final part of this video, the Keyblade ranking. So in ranking these, I'm going to be talking about design, the design of the Keyblade, its stats, its utility, and when you receive it. And that's going to play a big, when you receive it is going to play a big part in ranking a lot of these Keyblades. And we'll get to that later when it becomes a bit more relevant for them. But we'll just get into it. So first up, actually this will make things easier if I just reorder things a bit. Oops, that goes there. And then we get Spellbinders there. And then we have Wishing Star, which is there, Crab Claw, Pumpkin Head, Fairy Harp, and then Metal Chocobo, Olympia is right after that, Lady Luck is next, Oathkeeper, and Oblivion. I'm just going the order in the list. I have the list. Divine Rose right here. After Divine Rose, it's Lionheart, and then Diamond Dust. When we get Angel Ultima. That's kind of the order we'll be going in. So first up, we have the Kingdom Key. Now, I'm putting Kingdom Key straight into A tier, and most of this is because of how iconic it is. In the game, it's your starter Keyblade. Because of that, it does not have the best stats, not the best utility. It has +3 strength. It's +3 strength, and has 20% crit rate, no crit strength bonus. It's considered like a medium length Keyblade, and that's it. It's not the best stats, pretty basic, but it is so iconic, and because of that, I can't put it any lower than A tier. It's not the best, but it is just so iconic. And next up we have the Jungle King, which you get for sealing the Deep Jungle Keyhole. A lot of people are going to put it at the bottom and then call it a day. It is admittedly not a great Keyblade. It has a longer reach. It is classified as a long Keyblade. And pretty sure it has a long Keyblade. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, it is a long Keyblade. It's one of the long Keyblades in the game. It's the first long Keyblade you get.
and admittedly, its stats are meh. Has +5 strength, which is good. But the crit rate is only 10%. The long reach is what is not is the longer reach is stopping me from putting it into D tier, or putting it at the bottom of the tier list and calling it a day. The way I usually play the game is I will go Wonderland, Deep Jungle, and then Cerberus. I do that because having a little bit of extra leveling for Cerberus is nice. Also, having a longer reach for Cerberus is nice because you can't get it to the ground. You can only attack him in the air. Having that little bit of extra reach, a little bit of extra strength from your Keyblade is nice. However, if you do the worlds in order of like the battle rating, so the 1, 2, 3 stars I think it is for the first 3 worlds, so that would be Wonderland, Olympus, and then Deep Jungle. It makes sense as to why it goes lower. At that point, you only have it for your second visit to Agrabah. Second visit to Traverse Town. So all you're really fighting are, besides generic Heartless, are the Guard Armor and Reverse Armor. And then having it for Agrabah before it gets replaced, like, I could see why it is so low. And it is very, very, very ugly. I'm tempted to put it bottom of C tier or top of D tier. I think for now I will put it. I have it like bottom C written down here, but I think D tier. Having it for Olympus boosts it a bit for me. I don't know if it boosts it enough to put it into C tier, but we'll leave it top of D tier for now. And speaking of Agrabah, up next we have 3 wishes, which you get for sealing the Agrabah keyhole. It has +6 strength and a 20% crit rate. But it is a medium length Keyblade like Kingdom Key, so it is shorter than Jungle King. However, I think that bit of strength and a little bit of extra strength, and that essentially twice the crit rate, plus a better design, in my opinion, puts it higher than Jungle King. It's good. I'm putting it into B tier. It's good. It does its job for when you have it. The problem is that it falls into the part of the game where you're going to be getting new Keyblades very, very often. The second half of by second half I mean everything after the Traverse Town, up until I'd say Hollow Bastion, you're getting Keyblades pretty quickly. And they're mostly sticking around for a world or 2 at most, and this is one of them. It's good for when you have it. It's just not the best in the game. So it's good. Yeah, it's good for when you have it. It serves its job, and then when it's time to retire it, it's pretty easy to retire. So putting it in B tier. And next up we have Spellbinder, which you get for once you have all 7 base level spells, you go talk to Merlin, he gives it to you. Spellbinder is another medium length Keyblade, has 4 strength, 20% crit rate, but it gives you +2 MP as well. So this is the first kind of magic based Keyblade you get in the game. But I don't think the magic system in Kingdom Hearts 2 is very well designed. At least for Atlantica, which I'll get into later. This is kind of the Keyblade you get when you're supposed to you're supposed to use it for Atlantica. The earliest you can get to it, is when you clear Monstro. If you go and you go to Geppetto's house after, that's when you can get it. You can only do that after you beat Monstro. So it is, if you don't skip anything, you get it right before Atlantica, which is it's kind of designed to be a more magic focused world. But it gets if even if you want to do like a fully more magic focused playthrough, it gets replaced pretty quickly. You run out of MP pretty quickly in this game, and so you're gonna have to rely on strength and physical attacks to get your MP back. Because again, you only have a finite amount of money, only a finite stash of ethers and whatnot you can use. And so because of that, its design is nice. I think it's a cool design. It's very fitting for a more magic-based focus, especially with the little book for the keychain. I can never bring myself to play a more magic-focused playstyle, even if I do pick the Dream Rod. So I gotta put it C, unfortunately. And next, say, oh my god, I ended up talking about Wishing Star there for a second, my bad. So I said you get it by talking to Merlin, and then I said you go to Geppetto's house. That Geppetto's house is when you get Wishing Star, which again, you get it at the same time as, pretty much the same time as Spellbinder. You get it after clearing Monstro, you go to Geppetto's house, open the chest, there it is. And it's +5 strength. First one in the game to have extra crit strength, which gives +2 to crit strength, and it has 100% crit rate. You would think this would be good. I do not. I think the design of it sucks. Nothing of it evokes Wishing Star to me except for the keychain. Everything else is just wood and cogs and pulleys. And like I said, the only thing would be like only actual star is the keychain, like the charm. I think design it sucks. It is a short keyblade. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's a short keyblade. And I don't think it is one I've literally never used. I will usually just stick with 3 wishes until I'm done Atlantica. That's usually because that's usually what I do. I usually do Agrabah, Monstro, Atlantica. Yeah, it is literally one I've never used. Throughout both versions of the game, I have at some point used every other weapon just to try it out. I have not used Wishing Star because it is so bad. So it is, I think, the worst keyblade in the game. No, that's a lie. One of the worst keyblades in the game. Just because of when you get it. So if you want to go more physical, yes, this has a better crit rate. I just think that the reach, I know it's supposed to balance it, but the short reach just really drags it down. Plus, I just like 3 wishes more. And 3 wishes does have higher strength. So, next up we have Crabclaw, which you get after sealing the Atlantica keyhole. It has +6 strength, +1 NP, and had 20% crit rate. So it has the same strength and crit rate as 3 wishes, but it's just essentially a better, at least stat-wise, better 3 wishes because of that extra NP boost. But the problem with it is it kind of falls under the same as Crabclaw, or 3 wishes, where you're only really using it for a world or 2 before it gets replaced. You're not using it for long. It comes in that quick succession of keyblades, but it's good for when you have it. It's a good balanced keyblade where it has good strength, but it also has the 1 extra MP, so not as much MP as Spellbinder, but at this point it's your high strength, shows high strength with 3 wishes, and that's usually what I end up using after Atlantica. And I think design-wise, it fits the underwater theme well. the little crab there at the end I really like, so I'm putting it into B tier again just because it's good. You just don't have it for long before it probably gets replaced. And which brings us to our next one, which is Pumpkinhead, which you get for sealing the Halloween Town keyhole. Pumpkinhead is now the strongest in terms of physical strength, the 7 strength, and it has a 40% crit rate and is another long reach Keyblade. And for me, I always focus physical attacks when I play through Kingdom Hearts 1, even when I pick the Dream Rod, and this is good. It's the strongest one, has a good crit rate, like it doesn't lose, it actually has better crit rate than everything except Wishing Star up to this point. So you get better reach without sacrificing crit rate like you do with Jungle King. Again, it's the same where for Crab Claw and all these other ones where you don't have it for long before it gets replaced really quickly. And I think design-wise, yeah, Halloween Town is supposed to be spooky and whatnot, and black is a good color for that. I just think they could have done a lot more with it. Again, yeah, you get the cool little Jack Skellington head there, and the bat as the teeth at the end of the Keyblade, but it's just kind of boring. There's not much else to it, so I'm putting it B tier. Yeah, that's all I really have to say for it. So next we have Fairy Harp, which is the first one that is negatively affected by the changes made in Final Mix, at least for me. Fairy Harp you get for clearing for sealing Neverland's keyhole. It has 8 strength, which is the highest strength of any Keyblade right so far. It has +1 NP, and in Final Mix, it has a 10% crit rate, but +2 crit strength. Whereas in Vanilla, it had a 20% crit rate and +4 crit strength. Now, most of the Keyblades that gave more than 2 crit strength in the Vanilla version were brought down to 2, so I can't. That's just how it is. So the crit rate and the crit rate and the crit strength bonuses, the changes there aren't the changes that bring it down for me. I'll get more into that later. It's still a good solid Keyblade. Is it short? Yeah, it's a little short, but I think physically, for physical focused gameplay, it is still good, and I still end up using it. The problem is I do not use it for much. I essentially just use it for the Hercules Cup. It just doesn't get a lot of use, and I'll get into why a bit later. Design-wise, it's very good. It's very evocative of Peter Pan with the feather and the green and the fairy wings and the pan pipes at the end there. It's good design-wise. I just think because I barely use it, it's got to go C tier. I like it better than Spellbinder though, so I'm putting it higher than Spellbinder. Metal Chocobo sucks. Hold on, I have something written down here. I don't know if it's true. I need to go check it quickly, so I'll be right back. Okay, I did have that written down correctly. So, in Final Mix, Metal Chocobo gives you +9 strength, which physically is the best strength we have so far. And however, that is a decrease from 10 +10 in Vanilla version. It takes away 1 MP, which even for physical, if you're focusing on physical attacks in your playstyle, it's always good to have MP. So this is kind of like, I think the ones that give -1 MP, at least in Final Mix, especially, is not a good trade-off. And I'll kind of, it's just because like the ones that don't give and that don't take away MP are just, they're so much better in Final Mix than they were, like, just the balancing in Final Mix. And it also, this is what I was checking, because I've written down 2% crit rate, which I'm reading this back, I'm like, no, it can't be. Yeah, no, Metal Chocobo, it's long, it has pretty good strength, but it takes away 1 MP and 2% crit rate. It sucks. You also essentially get this at the same time as Olympia, which is what I'm going to talk about next. And it basically makes this one useless. So, Metal Chocobo in Final Mix doesn't get any use for me. It did a little bit in vanilla, like my first 2 playthroughs, and I realized there were better ones, but it's god awful. And also just does, like, design wise, it sucks. There's nothing Chocobo about it except for the keychain. Like the blade and everything doesn't even look like a Chocobo. So yeah, it sucks. Which brings us to Olympia. Olympia is the first of the Keyblades that I think got really, really buffed thanks to Final Mix. In the vanilla version, it had +9 strength, a 30% crit rate, and +4 crit strength. In Final Mix, it has +1 strength, +2 crit strength, which is seems to be like the change across the board for most of the Keyblades for crit strength, is bring it to +2, and only a 20% crit rate, which is whatever. I think its base strength is good enough to make up for that change, so I'm not faulting it for that. And I think overall, Final Mix made it better. And this is the Keyblade that brings down Fairy Harp's ranking for me. In vanilla, I would actually not use Olympia because I thought that, you know, only being +9 strength, it didn't make up for Fairy Harp. Yeah, Fairy Harp's 1 strength lower, but has that extra MP or extra point of MP, which I thought made up for it. So I actually ended up using Fairy Harp more than Olympia. But with the strength change, I think it's more than enough to make up for it. I think design-wise, it's very good. Very evocative of Hercules and Olympus, even without Hercules' name on it. It's another one that I don't use much, and I think if I ended up using it more, and I'll get into why I don't use it much kind of in a bit, but I think it would be higher, but I'm putting it in A tier. It is a solid Keyblade, and you could, if you use this from when you get it, which you get it by beating the Hercules Cup, which is the last of the main tournaments before Hades, and the earliest you could do that is after your first visit to Hollow Bastion? No. Before your first visit to, after you finish Neverland, after you seal Neverland, and you've done the previous tournaments, then you get. I don't even have to do it. No, you don't even have to do all the tournaments, I think, to get the Hercules Cup. But after you get the Hercules Cup, which the earliest you can get it is before you visit Hollow Bastion for the first time. So you're basically using it until you get one that could replace it, which I usually do end up replacing it, so it doesn't get much use for me. But it is good. It is a solid one that you could use until the end of the game, and it has a good design. So it, for me, goes in A tier. And next up, we have Lady Luck. And Lady Luck is received by going to the White Trinity in Wonderland. In the vanilla version, it had 8 strength, +2 MP, and 20% crit rate. In Final Mix, it has only 7 strength, but the rest remains the same. It's good for Magic Focus, but again, I don't do Magic Focus game playstyle. Like, that's just not me. I can't bring myself to do it. Kingdom Hearts 1. So it doesn't really get used for me. I've tried it out a bit. I've used it before. There have been times where I've gotten Phantom, or beaten Phantom before. No, I usually end up beating with people. I have used it before a bit, but nothing major. I think design-wise, it's very good, very fitting of Wonderland. It would also, if you do use it, is probably getting replaced not long after. But it's solid, especially if you're a Magic Focus player. So I'm gonna put it in B tier, low B tier. And then next up we have one of my favorite Keyblades in the series, if not my favorite, Oathkeeper. Oathkeeper is amazing. You get it after your first visit to Hollow Bastion when you're back in Traverse Town, when you talk to Kairi in the Secret Waterway. Or Waterway, I don't know if it's Secret Waterway, but whatever. It has plus 9 strength, which is solid, plus 1 NP, and 40% crit rate. It's a great balanced Keyblade between magic and physical, with good strength and crit rate, and the bonus MP there. It is another one that you could, if you wanted to, use it until the very end of the game. So is it the best stat-wise? No. But it can very easily carry you to the best of the game. It is so damn iconic. It is so iconic. I even have a plan for getting a Kingdom Hearts tattoo, and Oathkeeper's part of it. I love Oathkeeper so much. And any other tier besides S tier feels wrong, so I'm putting it in S tier. And then next we have its counterpart, Oblivion. Oblivion, I think, is hit the hardest in Final Mix. I'm putting it in low C tier because it is iconic, yes. I just think in Final Mix it got hit the hardest, and it sucks so much in Final Mix that it can't go any higher, and the only thing saving it from D tier is how iconic it is. It is another Keyblade I love. It's probably my second or third favorite. I don't know. Second place is the toss up between Kingdom Key and Oblivion, and it could switch on any given day. But it's just so bad in Final Mix. If you look at it on paper, 11 strength, 20% crit rate, plus 2 crit strength, and it being a long Keyblade, not bad. That's pretty solid, especially if you're one that focuses on physical attacks more than MP. However, you get it at essentially the same time as another Keyblade, as Divine Rose, which we will be talking about next. And that's when you go back to Hollow Bastion. And Hollow Bastion in Final Mix is the best recipient of the Final Mix changes to the Keyblades, and which makes it one of the best Keyblades in the game. I would argue that if you're depending on how much you take when you get it into consideration, Divine Rose is probably the best Keyblade in the game. But yeah, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Oblivion. Divine Rose is just so good that Oblivion got screwed because of it, and Oblivion goes into C tier because of it. And the only thing saving it from D tier is its design.
Yeah. Speaking of Divine Rose, Divine Rose goes S tier. I think it's better than Oathkeeper, but I'm putting it below Oathkeeper because Oathkeeper is just so good, like iconic. And if you don't plan on grinding out all of the content in the game, Divine Rose is the best Keyblade and is the biggest winner when it comes to Final Mix changes. So in the vanilla version, it had 10 strength and 40%. 10 strength and 40% crit rate. It's also a short reach Keyblade, one of the shorter ones. However, in Final Mix, it was brought up to 13 strength and keeps the 40% crit rate, just making it
so much better. And I think the best Keyblade you get apart from grinding out the game. I think there's one more that is better for it, which will get better than it, which we'll get to later, but Divine Rose is just so good. And so you get it on your second visit to Hollow Bastion by talking to Belle in the library, and you basically have it for fighting the Behemoth and then End of the World, and any post-game stuff you decide to do. Is that long? No, but it is just so good. Because of the strength. It is the strongest Keyblade in the game up to this point, and overall is the second strongest Keyblade in the game. Second only to Ultima Weapon, which we'll get into later, but it is just so good. Like, before, it went from being okay. I mean, at this point, you would have access, in the vanilla version, you have access to Olympia, which isn't bad. Oathkeeper, which is usually what I would go with. Or Lionheart, which I would go with, we'll get into a bit. Or Oblivion, which was actually like, Oblivion had a case for being used. No, it doesn't. Better strength, and no MP cost. Like Oblivion, it completely outclasses it. So Divine, and it's just so good. And design-wise, Divine Rose, it's very rose-based. It's not bad design-wise. It's not great, but it's not bad. So yeah, easy S tier. And the next up, we have Lionheart. And Lionheart you get after defeating Leon and Cloud in the Hades Cup. It's one of the long Keyblades, and it gives you plus 10 to strength, plus 1 MP, and 20% crit rate. It is more balanced because of that longer reach, and plus 1 MP than, say, something like Divine Rose or Oblivion would be. It's not a bad Keyblade. I think it is another one that's affected negatively because Divine Rose got such a big buff, but it's still not bad. You could use it till the end of the game if you wanted to. I also love the design, how it's very much Gunblade based, very focused on Leon, but Divine Rose I think just outclasses it. I'm still going to put it in A tier though, because it's good. It's just because of the changes you're probably not going to really use it. Which brings us to the first of the final mix Keyblades, and that is Diamond Dust. Diamond Dust you get for beating the gold match, which is beating the Ice Titan, hence the design, hence the name Diamond Dust, which is a reference to Shiva and Ice Summons in Final Fantasy. And it is the best magic-based Keyblade. It has +3. It gives +3 strength and +3 MP, and has a 20% crit rate. So it's not very not very physical attack focused, but it gives you the most MP. And the more MP you have, the more effective your magic is. So this is the best for anything magic-based, especially something like the Phantom Fight. For magic-focused users, it is their best choice. I don't use it much. I really only use it for Phantom. But it is a good Keyblade. It is considered one of the best by a lot of fans that use magic more than I do. So, that, and its design, it's simple. It's just, really iced and snow-based. But it's good. So I'm going to put it in A tier as well. I'm going to put it below Olympia, but higher than Lionheart. I know it's good. I've seen explanations as to why Diamond Dust is so good, and some people put it in S tier. It's just not for me. And then we get the second of the final mixed Keyblades, which is One Winged Angel. One Winged Angel, you could guess, if you know anything about Final Fantasy, you get for beating Sephiroth, the Platinum match.
It is a long Keyblade as well. It's not, I shouldn't say as well, because Diamond Dust is, but it's a long Keyblade that gives you plus 8 strength, minus 2 MP, so it's not very good if you're doing magic. It has a 10% crit rate, which isn't a lot, not the worst, because Metal Chocobo has 2, but it has plus 16 crit strength. Which is what, like, kind of its unique thing, is that it doesn't do crits often. When it does, they're very strong. And so that's meant to kind of balance it having not the best strength. Plus 8 isn't a lot. It's not great, in my opinion. I don't think the low crit rate, like if you were to do a bit lower strength and just like even up the crit rate a bit to like maybe even like 50%, I think it would be more, you'd have a better argument for you, like why you'd want to use One Winged Angel, but it doesn't really see a lot of use for me, and especially with the minus 2 MP and lowering your MP and your magic strength, your magic power. It will be either the last Keyblade or the second last Keyblade you get in the game. So you don't have a lot of time to use it, but even if you did, it's not great. I like the design, especially Masamune, Sephiroth's sword. Masamune, I think that's what it is. Anyway, like Sephiroth's sword's kind of incorporated into design. I think that's really cool. It unfortunately just isn't super useful, so I'm going to put it into C tier. I have Oblivion, which is sadly going to be at the bottom. And finally, the Ultimate Weapon. The Ultimate Weapon you get by synthesizing it. It's the last item you can synthesize. It's going into S tier. It is, yeah, you have to grind, basically, you have to grind a lot to get to it. Especially in Final Mix, item synthesis has become a lot more grindy. I think, though, that the payoff is pretty good. Because Ultimate Weapon is that good. It's a long Keyblade. It's a long Keyblade. It has plus 14 strength, which is the highest in the game, and it was boosted from plus 12 in the vanilla version. It's plus 2 MP, 40% crit rate, and plus 2 crit strength. It is balanced. It is the strongest physically strongest Keyblade in the game. It gives you plus 2 MP, which isn't the best, but it's still really good. And it's long, it has good reach. Like, it is the best. I don't know why I put it bottom. It is, actually no, I know why I put it bottom. It's the best Keyblade in the game, but you don't have it, really, for long. Chances are you are going to beat the game, either beat the game, go back to your save point, and then grind everything out, or get to that last save point, grind everything out, and you essentially have it for Ansem. But it is just so good. It is just that good. It is the Ultimate Weapon. It's called that for a reason, so it's going in S tier. And design-wise, it's good. It has like a actual sword in the blade. But even apart from that, it's just so well designed. It is so good stat-wise that it goes into S tier. And so that's it for the tier list. Just a quick review. In S tier, we have Oathkeeper, Divine Rose, and Ultimate Weapon. In A tier, we have Kingdom Key, Olympia, Diamond Dust, and Lionheart. B tier, we have Three Wishes, Crabclaw, Pumpkinhead, and Lady Luck. In C tier, we have Fairy Harp, the name for a second there, Spellbinder, One Winged Angel, and Oblivion, which hurts to put it there, but that's, I think, where it belongs. And D tier, we have Jungle King, Wishing Star, and Metal Chocobo. And I know I was thinking about Jungle King maybe being in C tier. No, I think D tier is where it belongs. And yeah, that's it for the for the Keyblade ranking. And there we have it, my post Let's Play discussion about Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. Now, Kingdom Hearts Final Mix is not Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts, I should say, is my favorite gaming series of all time, and is one of my favorite series in general. And it started off really strong with this entry, and it's definitely a game and series I highly recommend to anyone. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that stuck around to the end of this video. This is my first ever scripted video on the channel, and it's a bit of a long one. So I really appreciate anyone that stuck around to the end because a lot of work did go into this. If you have any feedback about videos like this, if you want to see something else like this, or just feedback in general, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I really appreciate the time anyone took to watch this and give feedback if anyone leaves feedback. That being said, thank you all again for watching, and I will see you next time.